now is Hen Mazzig, author, activist, and senior fellow at the Tel Aviv Institute. Thank you for your time. First of all, let's start with this breaking news. 2 hostages now released. We're awaiting potentially 8 more that will be given to the Red Cross and then go into a medical facility for evaluation. Are you hearing anything from your sources on who these hostages are?
There were some reports earlier today that 2 Muslim Israelis, Aisha and Bilal al-Zidan, would be released, 2 teenage Muslim Arab Israelis that were taken hostage by Hamas that are due to be released today. So potentially it will be both of them. We will know only when they would return home. But the situation is so chaotic that we're grasping onto every piece of information, trying to make sense of it.
Right, minute by minute, hour by hour, the fragility of these talks is incredible. You have been sharing some personal stories, Hen, of the hostages on your Instagram account. I was scrolling through that a little while ago, and the release of some of these women and children and their embraces when they are reunited. We're all impacted in some way by seeing these reunions, given what these people have been through. How does it personally touch you to see these reunifications?
Marni, I've been in touch with many of the families of the hostages, and every time I speak to them, my heart breaks even more. And it's just unthinkable to have 10-month-old baby, little Kfir, spending 15% of his life in captivity by Hamas, by a terrorist group, and their manipulation and their total disregard for human lives. We're speaking about ceasefire. Ceasefire takes 2 sides. Hamas has been violating the ceasefire since day one. They launched rockets 15 minutes into the ceasefire. They detonated bombs. They shot at Israeli soldiers throughout the pause. It's a pause on the Israeli side. But I think the most important thing here is that it is an evidence that for Israel, the most important objective of this operation is to release the hostages. If the most important thing was to eliminate Hamas, they wouldn't have agreed to this deal that Hamas continuously violating. And I think that's really telling on the mission of Israel and what is the highest priority right now.
A moment ago, and we were showing some images of one of the families being held hostage, a mother and her 2 sons, the Bibas family, her youngest son, just 10 months old. There have been some reports about their well-being. Have you heard anything new about where they are and how they might be doing?
We've heard some reports on their well-being throughout the months, but we know that Hamas has been lying before about the situation with hostages like Emily Hen, the little girl that was released. We thought that she was actually killed when Hamas was reporting it, and they have reported yesterday that this family was killed as well. But then the day before that, they said that they don't know exactly where the family is. So I would take anything that Hamas is saying, this genocidal terrorist group that has committed horrific crimes against humanity, I would take everything they're saying with a grain of salt.
Right, psychological war games with the families and really with the world at this point. The continued pause in the fight has consequences on the battlefield. Once fighting resumes, it also means more hostages are likely to be released and come home. Do you support the extension at this point?
I do support anything that would bring back the hostages. I think that's what every Israeli that you ask today will tell you, that we want to see our families back. And we know the enemy that we're fighting against. And we know that the reason that Hamas took those hundreds of hostages, remind you, they didn't take individuals. They took families. They took group of people because they wanted just emotional manipulation on Israel. They wanted Israelis to want to release those hostages and to do everything we can, even releasing terrorists that have harmed Israelis, just to bring them back. And we saw it today with the violence in Jerusalem, where a 26-year-old girl was shot to death by what Hamas is claiming was their terrorist. And I think Israelis are bleeding and we're hurting, but the most important thing for us is to bring back our families. We love our families, we love our people more than Hamas hates us.
Yeah, that situation in Jerusalem, just another indication of the continued threat to those who wish to do Israel harm. There is a rise in anti-Semitism that we've seen since October 7th. You recently wrote, if Jews feel safer living in Israel where they are regularly bombed, stabbed, kidnapped, and murdered, what does that say about how Jews are treated in the rest of the world? I'm guessing you're not surprised at all by the hate that we continue to see. Do you also anticipate that because the world is watching, we will see the shift that you and so many others desire?
We've been alarmed by the situation for quite some time. We've been warning the world that every time this conversation about Israel is reigniting and fire is starting in this conflict, Jews around the world are the ones that are paying the price as well as Israel.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.